So I've got Moira, Lee, Chris, and Terry and Bob and all that are here. But if you have any questions for any one of us, this is the time to shout. If not, I'll take silence as lunch is the most important thing. And I will absolutely expect every one of you to sign up for Moira's size and shape study. So the next 2 minutes will determine how many people in this room are signing up to the size and shape study. So if lunch is your driver, I expect you to sign up. So it's your choice, guys. Any questions? Or has everything been answered to your satisfaction? Oh, there's one. Oh, okay. On you go.
Willie Sanderson here, safety rep in the Dunbar platform. My question is regarding competency. Basically, offshore we've got loads of different companies, different competency systems, some good, some bad. Some of us reach 100% competency after 2 years, and then they come out with another initiative. Why doesn't the industry as a whole go to an MVQ system so everybody's got a competency to the same level instead of different company profiles?
Okay, so I could tell you why, but I might get sacked, so I'll tell you anyway. NVQs are a one-stop shop where, depending on how good your assessor is and how good your photocopier is, determines how much competence you can demonstrate. It's a point in time, and therefore, as things change, as we age, as assets age, as technology changes, that NVQ has a point where it was valid. For me, the further we get away from that point of assessment, the less the currency is. And as an industry, I think that we have to demonstrate competence at point of achievement, but we also have to be able to demonstrate ongoing and current competence. And that's as much to do with the behaviours that we show and how we do the job as opposed to what we know. And it's part of that. What we're doing within Step Change is creating a framework as to here are the principles of competence assurance. Each company can do their own thing, but having worked in learning and development, having worked in competence assurance, and having been on the wrong end of a fatality as a result of things where everybody in the team had NVQs to the eyeballs, I can assure you it's not the holy grail of reducing risk and ensuring that everybody goes home. So,
okay, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions? So that's about 99 people, 98 people signing up for a size and shape study now. Just down here.
It's just regarding the size and shape survey. We've had a lot of people, like a lot of concerns offshore about the size of people in helicopters, and our answer has always been there's been a survey, but we never actually knew that. We thought it was compulsory, they were just going to pick 600 random people. But realistically, do you think, I mean, there's going to be a sigh of relief from the larger guys that when you're in excess of £300, you do not have to get scanned. So how accurate do you think this is really going to be?
Yeah, as this is a research project, it is entirely voluntary. We can't make anyone take part. But this outcome of this is only really going to be as good as the data as we get. So we do really need to encourage those larger and smaller people to get involved, because particularly the heaviest end of the spectrum, they will have the biggest impact on the equipment. So, and we were trying to get this across. It's not really about the weight; it's about the size and the shape of the individual. So, you can see a difference as well between those individuals you'd class maybe as obese and those people you'd class as maybe kind of muscularly very fit. They will also be on that heavier end of the spectrum. You wouldn't say they're obese, but they will again have a different size and shape to a person who is. So again, that will kind of influence the data again. So it is voluntary. We can't make anyone take part, but we do really encourage you to take part because it is for the benefit of you guys.
Okay, thank you.
I think if somebody is larger, it is important to tell them that by showing up and engaging helps us have a positive influence going forward. Because if we do not have that data set, then it's based on assumptions, and the data set drives improvement. We have to know what problem we're trying to solve. So it is that. We do have to encourage people to do it, I'm afraid. And Step Change might issue a diet book next year. I have no idea.
It's just that realistically, I know there'll be a sigh of relief from the larger people offshore that they're not going to have to do this because they thought they were.
Yeah, no, it's completely anonymous and completely voluntary.
Yeah, and we are using RGU. They kind of run a lot of kind of obesity research for medical reasons and things like that. So we are using their experience in how we do get those larger people. And it has been sort of statistically driven as that is 600 is the number that we need to get a representative sample. So we are going to use their expertise in how we get those people. But it really is just to encourage people to take part. It doesn't get back to them. We're not saying they're heavy or anything like that. It's purely to get a good enough data set to represent what is actually working offshore.
Any other questions? Lunch? Good. Okay. So I'll expect everybody to sign up then. That's good. Yeah. Oh, sorry. So I'm hungry too.
This is Pork 40 of Safe Trip in the 40s. Charlie, this is from Moira. Do you think just focusing on the major hazards will disengage people, like lower down the line, the safety culture itself?
That's perhaps for Susan.
Well, I think the question's for me, Susan. Yep. Because I think two things actually. What I'm talking about is potentially it's my focus. I still expect people offshore to be managing conventional health and safety. I think the focus on major hazards is potentially more challenging because actually a lot of it is something you can't see. So there's a slide I'm going to use wherever my next presentation is to see industry leaders. Actually, I'm going to ask them to tell me where they think the hazards are. So just a picture, and I know that we'll get the slips and trips, and we'll get the eye protection, and all of the manual handling. What I'll be interested to see is whether actually have we got the right fluid running through that pipe? Is a gasket right? Has it been maintained properly? It's much more. I appreciate it's much more challenging and difficult. What I think, being honest, is I worry about the workers. I worry about the mindset and the culture on the installation where people are walking past that temporary refuge. The culture there is not right. There's something fundamentally wrong with workers walking past holes that you can put your fist through in your temporary refuge blast wall. So whilst I think it's potentially more difficult and challenging to engage people on it, I think actually it is it's the right focus.
Thanks.
If I missed anybody. Willie, did you have your hand up there? You don't have to ask a question. It's not compulsory.
No, you're letting your belly follow you again. Just regarding a bit of interaction with the HSE and possible ideas. Step Change, they have an auditing system to see if your company complies with SI 971. And the safety reps can do it every year and make sure they are. Do you think there's scope that the HSE could put out questions regarding major accident hazards, to safety reps in city, as if, would you go and check that, and how do you feel about this? Little quote, not to take over inspection regimes, but just maybe a general feeling and maybe our scope there somewhere to get a bit of to and fro from reps to the HSE.
Yeah. That's an idea. I think one of the things I'm really keen on, as I said, is this SOPITO training that actually gives people much more confidence and much more knowledge in terms of what the major accident hazard risks are. And certainly from talking to the reps I met from Petrofac in particular at Norwich, they now know what it is they need to be looking for, and they're engaged, and they're actually trying to engage their companies and their supervisors on making sure that they get the focus right. I think if you tell me that there's a gap, actually, if people have been on the training and we think there's a gap, then I'd be happy to look at what we do through Step Change, potentially. I wouldn't want the regulator just producing something. I'm also a bit nervous about producing lots of systems and bits of paper, so I'd rather find something that you tell me is working elsewhere or something you've developed, and maybe that's what we take across the sector. But we're going to be faced with the challenge that actually every company has their own systems. And actually, I rather suspect they might want you to engage. What I would be encouraging you to do is to test them, make sure they're focused on the major accident hazard risks, and use them yourself, because then you're talking their language.
Okay, folks, I'm going to call it to a close there. I'd like to firstly thank our speakers for today, and I hope you'll just join me by giving them a short round of applause. More importantly, yourself for taking the time to show up today. I do appreciate that it is in your own time, it is in leave, and therefore it's always a blessing for me when you show up and engage in this way. Thanks to our sponsors, Billfinger. I think just to reflect on what everybody said, we got a clear picture of what Susan as our regulator is doing for us and will be doing for us, and that how the focus really is on major accident hazard. We heard actually what more you can do as safety reps from Marathon, and how you can play your part beyond your organisation and in the community. I think from Moira, the work that's going into understanding and the challenges of size and shape, and I do really encourage you to get engaged in that. From Chris and Andrew, the importance of actually our continued focus on helicopter safety, and why that is going to remain right at the forefront of everything we do for the next years. From Terry and Bob, really the value of ESRs within our leadership team, and to use Bob's language, what they're nipping worried about. But they bring such a huge diversity in colour and feedback to that, and it's hugely important. So engage with them as your voice. And also, hopefully, we've given you a sense of what we've been doing in Step Change broadly on your behalf today. I think finally, I just want to go back to where we started. Geyser's got big shoes to fill. There's 100 people here. We can start by doing that tomorrow. Enjoy your lunch. Look after yourself. Take care. Safe home. Bye.